to click like, subscribe, the bell notification, and whatever else YouTube has you clicking on to support us. What's up, everyone? I'm the Kaiju no Kami from the Toku Animation News Network here with
Krelika Kane.
And welcome to the 2025 edition of Kaiju no Kami versus AI. It's been a while since we've done one.
It has, and it's all his fault.
No, it's not my fault.
Actually, yes, it is.
It's not my fault. I was working on Dawn Brothers and Kamen Rider, and those took a lot of time.
It's basically he didn't want to sit and record with me. He doesn't love me anymore.
If only it were that easy.
Hey!
But we are...
Hey!
What?
So mean.
I know. Very, very mean. Boo-hoo. Anyway. What are we doing today?
We're actually going to talk a little bit about cartoons.
Cartoons? What type of cartoons? The good cartoon. The good cart...
Do you want to start over?
No. The good cartoons, the bad cartoons, the kiddie cartoons, the adult cartoons. Ooh, wow, wow. What are we talking about?
We're actually going to do this first one on see if you know enough about the history of cartoons.
Ah, okay.
So...
The subject I failed in.
You got to take a class on cartoons?
No.
I was going to say, jealous.
I'm just saying history.
Well, this history you may know a little bit more about, hopefully.
Okay.
So, this is all taken from AI. Now, I will admit, I did actually read this, so I have some idea of what they're talking about, and they seem kind of true, but I want to test your knowledge. So, did you know that cartoons existed pre-1900?
Well, I mean... Like in a theater?
No.
Like how in...
Cartoons, and this is something I learned, and I actually researched it after I did the AI to make sure I was telling the truth. So between the 17th and 19th centuries, cartoons were actually created as satirical illustrations.
Oh, well, in that sense, yes.
So, well, I knew there were always like comics, but I didn't know cartoons were based on satire originally.
Yes, cartoons were just basically evolved into comic books, and then cartoons became the name for animation.
And then in the 19th century, there was what you were thinking about, an early animation devices called the zoetrope, which was invented in 1834, and the phenakistoscope. It sounds like it's a drug.
Phenakistoscope?
Well, it's P-H-E-N-A...
Yeah, phenakistoscope.
Okay. And that was invented in 1832. And these allowed for illustrations to begin moving in motion. Think of it
like a flip book.
Yes, I was going to say, just like the flip books.
Except with the flip book, you have like the pages will stick together, so you have to skip like a bunch of pages.
I could never do the flip book. Did you ever create a flip book for yourself?
We did them in school, but
my friends did.
I got a lot of the flip books in cereal boxes and stuff, and
I remember those.
Where you get the little like Captain Crunch or whatever, and like, but then you're like, hey, wait, those pages that doesn't match because those pages stuck together.
Then from 1900 to 1927, we had what's called the silent era of cartoons. The first one, or the first cartoon ever created, supposedly, because I don't believe it exists anymore, is called The Humorous Phases of Funny Faces from 1906. It was created by J. Stuart Blackton that featured animated sequences of faces changing expressions. Kind of reminds me of like when we were watching Doctor Who with the puppet. Yes. But have you ever heard of the cartoon Gertie the Dinosaur? Okay, you can speak. Just because it's a silent era for this, you can talk. Oh, come on. Are you going to subtitle this? So at least the audience knows what you're doing.
Okay, anyway.
But have you ever heard of Gertie the dinosaur?
Gertie the dinosaur. Is it a brontosaurus?
I think so, yes.
Then possibly.
It was created in 1914. Now, do you know what cat was created in the early 1900s that
Was it Felix?
Mm-hmm. Felix the cat was the first cartoon, or the first character that became a cartoon that was the template for other cartoons. And that was created in 1919. And I don't know if Felix the Cat is like around anymore. But I even remember back in the day when we were kids, they showed Hanna-Barbera cartoons, or maybe not Hanna-Barbera, but whomever owned Felix the Cat at times, you would see those cartoons on TV. Now then we have the golden age of American animation.
Steamboat Willie.
1928. So in 3 years, because we're in 2025, in 3 years, Steamboat Willie will be 100.
Mm-hmm.
That is crazy, because I remember watching that cartoon as a kid.
And he's public domain now.
Yes. So I anticipate the horror movie is already coming out.
There's three horror movies on Steamboat
Three
Willie in the works.
horror movies on Steamboat Willie? Jesus.
Yep. One of them is a slasher movie with the guy wearing a Steamboat Willie costume. And I don't know what the other two are. I just heard that there's 3 Steamboat Willie horror movies in the works.
So here's a question for you. Name, if there's 4 studios, I don't know if you'll know all 4 of them, but name what you think the 4 studios were that dominated cartoons.
Well, Warner Brothers.
1.
Disney.
2. Think of Bond. James Bond.
Yeah, I know. MGM.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to think. What was it? It wasn't Universal, right?
Nope.
Okay.
It starts with an F.
F. Okay, so let's see. Fret. No. Hold on a minute. I'm trying to think of the old studios back then, because it was bought.
I don't know who owns them now, if they even still have any relevancy.
Oh crap.
Do you want me to tell you?
Hold on a minute. I'm trying to think here.
Actually, I need to see if it's owned by anybody else now.
It starts with an F.
Do you want me to give you a second letter?
Is it an A or R?
It's an L.
Oh, it's an L?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, then I don't know it.
So, the studio is called Fleischer Studios.
Okay, Fleischer. Superman.
Yes.
Okay, that's right.
And it's, so, Fleischer Studios was built by 2 brothers, kind of like Warner, Max and Dave Fleischer, and it was acquired by, I'm curious if you'll know this one.
Warner Brothers?
It's a company that owns, that's today, owns a cartoon kids station that's still around today.
Nickelodeon? Paramount?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, Paramount bought them. It looks like Paramount bought them in the 50s. And so some of the iconic characters that came up at this time, Bugs Bunny.
Well, obviously.
Daffy Duck, which makes sense. Betty Boop, 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 boop. And Popeye.
Betty Boop was...
Fleischer.
Okay. Popeye was MGM?
Popeye, let me just make sure, my notes. No, Fleischer as well.
Okay. Yeah, Popeye's public domain now, too.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a horror movie in the works for Popeye.
And hopefully he's the hero? Because
Nope. It's another killer in a Popeye costume.
you know, it made Popeye the hero make Bruno, or no, not Bruno, Brutus, right? Or God, now I'm blanking on.
I don't know. I was never really huge on Popeye.
So then, 1937 came the first full-length animated movie.
Snow White.
Mm-hmm. Now, for being the first full-length animated movie, and I know you've seen Snow White a few times.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, animation-wise, let's not talk about story. Animation-wise, what do you think of an animation that's 12 years from being 100 years old?
Well, the animation's fine for what it was. It's really well done. People had to actually have skill to animate it. So it's pretty good.
Now, most of the human characters, from what I've been told for early days for Disney, is that they base like the image of Snow White, Prince, and any other people that were on the screen based off of real people.
Yes.
So like actors and actresses.
Yeah, that's because I remember them talking about. Oh, what was it? I forget which bonus feature I was watching where they were talking about who they were basing things off of. Might have been Little Mermaid or Aladdin. I don't remember which.
Sometimes they would bring people into the studio for the artists to draw
them. Yes.
And then they would have them go in different poses and take that for when they're fully animated. Made me think of when we were watching Time Ranger yesterday, when the dude was trying to draw Time Pink, and you had made the comment, I hate drawing people.
I hate drawing real people. Yep.
Why? Is it because they move?
No, it's just trying to get all the curvature correct and the proportions correct. Especially like if they have their face tilted, well obviously the eyes are not going to be in a straight line. That way you have to kind of curve the line to be diagonal, which sometimes is annoying.
And real people are not always perfectly symmetrical with all of their features at times.
And like noses, trying to get a realistic nose is sometimes very annoying.
I thought it was the hands or the feet.
Those are also, hands and feet can also be a pain in the ass. But noses on faces, because you have to get it exactly right or it throws the whole face off. Face?
I was gonna say. Okay. In the 1960s, this company dominated the cartoon industry per AI.
In the 60s.
In the 60s, they were created.
Hanna-Barbera?
Mm-hmm. Which I didn't know that Hanna-Barbera was the last name of both creators. So I felt kind of dumb there for a minute. But...
Because it was Joe Hanna?
I think so, yeah.
And I don't remember Barbera.
But they created per AI, which I know it's true because I watched all these shows. Scooby-Doo, Yogi Bear, the Flintstones, the Jetsons,
Snagglepuss, Huckleberry Hound. You said Yogi Bear, right?
Yes.
Penelope Pitstop.
Yeah,
Dick
Wacky
Dastardly, the
Racers.
Wacky Racers. Oh God. The
not Thornberries, that's a modern cartoon. The cavemen people, right?
Captain Caveman, yes. But the teenagers with the living car.
Oh God! There's movies based on it too.
And
Well, I think I do the band.
Herbie?
Yes, Herbie.
Oh, Josie and the Pussycats?
Yes. And what was the shark one? That was supposed to be like, what was that, Hanna-Barbera? The one where they had like a shark?
Oh.
You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, where he was a land shark?
Yes.
Basically.
And I know you said Huckleberry
Finn. Hound.
Hound. What's the one not
Snagglepuss.
Not Snagglepuss, the purple-ish like cat thingy.
Well, the Snagglepuss was a pink cat.
Well, I thought Snagglepuss was with Dirk Dastardly.
That's Muttley.
Oh, then yes, you're right, Snagglepuss. Okay. Now, what were your favorites of the Hanna-Barbera era? Even though we were born well after.
Also Hanna-Barbera did the first Godzilla cartoon.
Oh, really?
Yeah. The one I reviewed way back when that Derek had me review as a Patreon request. Yeah, Hanna-Barbera did that one.
I didn't know that.
And Godzuki.
I remember that. I didn't know they did it.
But I watched them because they were on Cartoon Network. But other than Scooby-Doo, I was never a big fan of the Hanna-Barbera stuff.
I lived for, like, Josie and the Pussycats, Scooby-Doo. I wasn't a huge fan of Yogi Bear,
and the Flintstones and Jetsons I liked.
Well, yeah, the Flintstones. I even have the set of the Flintstones. Because I'm much of a fan.
I actually never truly found their characters, Yogi Bear, Snagglepuss, Hound, any of them. I was never a big fan of them. I just watched them because that was what was on TV at the time.
Well, and I never
Snorks.
had... Ooh. Oh, God.
I hate the Snorks.
Did they do the Smurfs, too, or no?
Yes, because the Snorks are the underwater Smurfs.
Yes, I know that.
I hate the Snorks. I hate the Smurfs.
Oh, I hate the Smurfs.
I hate all of those. Like, Wacky Races was only fun because of Dick Dastardly.
Well, I liked how he always wanted to kidnap Penelope from the mafia group she was with.
Yeah, I hate Penelope Pitstop and those dwarves or whatever they were.
So, I didn't have cable growing up all the time. Cable was kind of hit or miss for me. But all of the Hanna-Barbera cartoons also aired on the free stations that I had access to. So
maybe I would have thought differently if I didn't grow up with Transformers and G.I. Joe and Thundercats and Rock Lords and Visionaries and Dino Riders.
Okay. Let me continue on to the next step. So in the 1970s, which I actually didn't know this started in the 70s, comes the Saturday morning cartoons. And I always think of... I know Nostalgia Craig did this, but the whole after these messages, we'll be right back, where on some of the...
that was on Fox
yes.
Or not Fox, ABC in the 90s.
Yes, but that's what I remember the most. But I watch Saturday morning cartoons, and I have to say, anybody who was born after probably, 98? Because I don't think they do Saturday morning cartoons like they used to.
No, Fox was taken over by 4Kids in the early 2000s, and then about, I think, 2008 is when the Fox box went away.
So Saturday morning cartoons were something that Fox, ABC...
And then in the 90s, you had Kids WB.
But I think even CBS and NBC had cartoons. And so Saturday mornings were the coolest thing for kids. And depending on where you lived, Saturday morning cartoons could have started as early as 7 a.m.
6 a.m. Fox was 6 a.m.
Really? Oh.
Because they would have Dragonflies and Sky Dancers on at 6 and 6:30. Then Dragon Ball in the 90s went on at 6:30.
Actually, I do remember that because when I was staying with my grandparents for surgery, I would always get up super hella early because they'd have to feed me my medications.
But then in the 90s, we had UPN would have their cartoons in the morning?
I didn't start until 7 regularly, but I remember even when I was really young, like really young, in the early 80s, I don't know what it is. You could tell a kid you have to get up by 6 a.m. Monday through Friday to go to school. And back in this era, you would have kids like, I don't want to get up to go to school. But if you tried to make a kid sleep late on Saturday or take the TV away from them, it was like you were about to commit war. Because Saturday morning cartoons...
Well, the 90s, we had Doug.
Oh, I love Doug.
Real Monsters, Angry Beavers, those were on Nickelodeon. You had, well, except for then the final season of Doug was on ABC.
Well, let me ask you a question real quick before you get too far into your nostalgia. Why were Saturday morning cartoons the way they were? Per AI, they say for a specific time. But what was the point of Saturday morning cartoons like He-Man, Transformers, G.I. Joe?
To sell toys.
That is the other thing about, especially the 80s and 90s, is Saturday morning cartoons were your 3 to 4 hour...
Toy commercials.
Yeah, exactly.
Well,
commercial block.
For some shows. Some series, like Bobby's World, didn't have any merchandise.
Yes, they did.
Did it?
Oh, yeah.
Because I don't remember.
I got little figures
What
in
about
Bobby.
Eat the Cat? Did that have merch?
Mm-hmm.
Because I know,
Not as big as He-Man.
Zyber 9 had merch.
Mm-hmm.
Toon Sylvania, I think, had merch.
It depended on the show how much merch they had, but they typically did.
Obviously, all the cartoons in the 80s were merch. They were pretty much like Spaceballs. Merchandise!
But...
We've got T-Rex the Flamethrower. We've got Rock Lords transforming rocks. We've got transforming scooters. We've got transforming Transformers.
So, when I was about 10... trying to think of which house we lived in. I can't... Oh, it was when I lived at my uncle's.
Okay.
So 9 to 10. My uncle specifically gave me my own TV for his bedroom because that's where my mom and I were sleeping. Long story. But nonetheless, he put a television in there because he had to sleep on the couch. So my mom and I could have his bedroom. And he got sick of me waking his ass up, as he said, early in the morning to watch cartoons. And my mom was usually gone for work already because she had to start at like 5 a.m. So I would go back to sleep for a little bit, wake up, watch cartoons all morning. And then when I got a little bit older and I was watching cartoons, the most disappointing time when you knew cartoons were over, at least when you didn't have cable, was when either Dark Shadows, Xena, or Hercules came on. And I was so livid when I had like Hercules and Xena because I liked them to a degree, but I wasn't the huge fan.
See, what I recall...
Like Dark Shadows I liked because it was a vampire
Kids
drama.
WB ended at noon. No. 11? No, it had to be noon.
It usually was between 11 and noon, depending on the station.
Because, yeah, Hercules and Xena came after Kids WB. Mm-hmm. Then WWF came on after Hercules and Xena.
Which that I didn't mind because I was a huge wrestling fanatic back in the day.
And then... Because wrestling was also on Saturday mornings.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I know. Because wrestling for me was the heyday back then. So I got cartoons and wrestling.
Did you just say wrestling?
Yep, I did.
Oh, God. Now I'm thinking of the movie we watched.
Now, here we go. In the 1980s, we also had something called the Japanese influence in anime.
Well, obviously, Voltron and Robotech.
And there was another 2 shows that re-aired during that time that first came to America much earlier.
Oh, Astro Boy.
And the second?
What's his name? The Iron...
No. Go Speed Racer.
Oh, yeah, Mach Go Go, or Speed Racer.
Well, Speed Racer
and then you also had 2 different dubs of Gatchaman. One was called G-Force, and the other was called... Oh my god, what was the other one now?
Well, you also had sometimes Gigantor.
That's what I was trying to think of.
Yeah.
Well, that's just... What was that? It was G-Force, and... I don't know why there were 2 different dubs for Gatchaman. But yeah, G-Force, and what the hell was the other one?
But in America...
Now it's going to bother me.
But in America, we didn't know they were anime. So it was... Well, okay, I will say I didn't know. Speed Racer, Astro Boy, Gigantor were all anime.
Battle of the Planets. That's the other dub.
Oh, yeah, I watched that.
I don't know why they had 2 different...
I didn't even know they had 2 different dubs.
I have no idea.
But in the 90s, the one show that I learned was anime was Sailor Moon. And I think
And Dragon Ball.
Well, I started watching Sailor Moon before Dragon Ball. And when I watched Dragon Ball, it was Z in the later 90s.
See, I watched Dragon Ball when it was on Fox Saturday mornings. But the thing that sucked is when I started watching it was the last 3 episodes. Which ends with Pilaf getting the dragon to make his wish. And then the Fox took it off. And I never saw it again until I watched it on DVD.
So, in 94, I started watching Sailor Moon, and it came on Monday through Friday at...
Too early for me.
It came on at 5:30 a.m. because right before that was Bananas in Pajamas.
I just know I caught Sailor Moon when Fox did a preview on a Saturday morning at 6:30. They did a special preview of Sailor Moon. It was the first episode to R. Because my introduction was with the Cardians as the villains. So when USA aired the show in the late 90s, when I was in high school, because I'd watch it over the summer, my first episode of that was when Nephrite is the wedding episode with Nephrite, when he does the wedding dress contest. And I was like, those aren't the villains I remember. Where's the blue and pink haired green aliens?
So for me, I watched Monday through Friday Sailor Moon every day. And even when I stayed over at friends' places because I didn't want to be home, because it sucked, I would still get up early, watch it, and then turn it off before my friends got up because I needed to have cred for myself, which I did in every other way except for my love of cartoons.
Alright, so what's the next thing AI says?
So the next thing is we have what's called the modern era, which starts in 1990 per AI. This is because we have what's called a renaissance, where we start getting new cartoons. Plus, we have 2 cable networks dedicated to cartoons and children's television. What networks are
Cartoon Network.
Mm-hmm.
And
now
Nicktoons.
Well, Nickelodeon. So, but it was Nicktoons. But Nickelodeon, even though it's been around since the 70s, became more dedicated, where they'd have daytime Nicktoons and then they'd have Nick at Night for the older audiences. And 3 of the shows that AI says pushed boundaries in regards to cartoons to achieve new terms of storytelling, humor, and visual style.
Batman the Animated Series?
Oh, you're going to be somewhat agreement and somewhat pissed. The Simpsons.
Oh, that was going to be my next one. Simpsons.
Rugrats. And Dexter's Lab.
What?
That's what AI says, push the boundaries. They say shows like, but those are the 3 that they only reference.
I mean, Rugrats, I had some very adult humor in there that even as a kid I was like, what?
Dexter's Lab was an all-adult humor with that veil of kids. I love Dexter's Lab.
Well, and the mother with her OCD and never taking off her gloves. But no, because there's one episode of Rugrats that's just hilarious because Tommy decides he doesn't want to wear clothes. So he just throws it all off. And Chucky's, and then Phil and Lil come over. And
I think you told me this.
They throw off their clothes. And Chucky's there. And then Tommy looks and says, Lil, can I ask you a question? And then it cuts to the others, to the adults talking, and Phil and Lil's mom walks in and says, oh my God, what is going on? Nope, this is not happening. Grabs them and we're out of here. But just the fact that Tommy's eyes were like, Lil, can I ask you a question? And our friend Cisco, he was over and he was like, wait, did they just do that? Like, yes, they did.
Because you and your friends still all watch cartoons to varying degrees, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, in 1995, there was a change in the world of animation because there was what's called the CGI revolution.
Ah, yes, reboot.
No. This, they're actually focusing on the movie aspect.
Oh, for Toy Story?
Mm-hmm. Because Toy Story gave rise, being the first fully computer animated show. Then we had television series like...
You mean
movie. Then we had television series like Reboot. Then we had other movies that it helped lead the way for, like Shrek, Finding Nemo. But yes, we had two. We had Toy Story and Reboot. Reboot, I can legit say, I rewatched it not too long ago on Pluto, and I could not continue. I need to try because I want to hear the story because the story was interesting. The animation, oh my God.
I didn't actually get into Reboot until the season where Enzo was an adult.
See, I can appreciate that.
I don't know why. I didn't like the earlier stuff, but then when they lost and got sucked up with the game, and the next episode is Enzo and his girlfriend as an adult, that's when the show got better for me. And I don't know if it's because that's when it got a bit more darker. And you had the... Oh, who was it that... Was it Megabyte? It was Megabyte that took over the city because... Yeah, so I don't know what it was, but when Enzo was an adult, it got much better. Like, there were moments, like the Evil Dead...
Oh, that was
kind of hilarious. Years later, after I'd seen Evil Dead, but I never really got into Reboot till the tail end of the show. Meanwhile, Beast Wars, I was like,
but Beast Wars still holds up some quality today compared to Reboot, and I don't know why because I can watch Beast Wars.
Even in '98. Voltron the Third Dimension.
Oh God, no!
Even back then, I was like, yeah, this show's cool, but that's CGI.
Actually, wait, we just found something that Zenkaiger is better than.
Voltron the Third Dimension.
Yes,
but and it was funny because I would tell people like, yeah, I like Voltron the Third Dimension, but it's weird because the characters just like are like this throughout the show. They're just like.
Early CGI animation was no bueno.
But then Voltron the Third Dimension got weird because...
Oh, it got weird?
Well, because they started airing episodes out of order. So, there was a clip show episode. This was the craziest thing. There's a clip show episode showing clips for an episode that hasn't aired yet, which has a fight between Lance and Lotor. Lance cuts off Lotor's robotic arm.
Oh, God.
And says something, but then when the episode actually aired, all he does is he damages his hand, and the thing he says after was a completely different line from what the clip show had. I was like, wait, what? That, because I watched it, I was like, oh, this is the episode shown in that clip show. That's not the sequence that was in the clip show.
Now, do you remember in the 2000s, the early 2000s, when we started getting digitally created anime, like Adventure Time?
What? That's not anime.
Animation, I mean. And Ed, and Eddie, and
Ed and Eddie was digital.
Oh, yeah, that wasn't hand-drawn.
I guess I've never really watched it, so.
And Avatar.
I never watched Avatar.
And so now we're in this era of streaming.
But actually, I guess Justice League was technically digitally animated.
But now we have, since the early 2000s, we have streaming. Because once upon a time, Netflix was not a streaming service.
Nope, they were cool because you could order DVDs.
It was basically Redbox.
In the mail.
In the mail, yes. You would go on to like a website. You would say, I want to get this, this, and this. And it was the most basic website in existence.
But it was cool because you could they practically had every movie available. And then the moment they do streaming, any movie you want to watch is not available on Netflix.
Well, and then when they started their streaming platform, you could still do by mail. Because you still did mail, even when we moved in together, even though Netflix had a streaming service, after we even moved in together, we still occasionally would rent Netflix movies.
Well, yeah, Netflix streaming didn't start till like 2009.
I know, but even after it started, we still...
Yeah, I still prefer to actually get the physical media because I could watch it.
Now, what do you think proliferated in America in the 2000s that we can never get away from?
What do you mean?
What kind of animation or type of animation is now everywhere because everybody likes it? AI is telling me it's anime.
Oh, well, I was like, well, I didn't know what you meant by what type of animation. I was trying to think like, do you mean like a show?
No. Sorry. But...
Oh, because I was like, Johnny Test? Since Cartoon Network could air like Johnny Test 23 hours a day?
But anime, in the modern era, in the 2000s, even though anime has been around for an incredibly long time, in the 2000s, you could literally spit and get anime. Because we had Gundam Wing, Naruto, Dragon Ball, on either Toonami or Adult Swim, or like USA would share some.
Well, and then
Stars.
four kids started dubbing anime horribly and bring. But
hey, my guilty pleasure. Do not riff on my guilty pleasure.
Doesn't matter. The One Piece from 4Kids was utter trash.
Do not riff on my guilty pleasure.
The only thing 4Kids touched that was actually good was Ninja Turtles. How the hell is 4Kids have the best version of Ninja Turtles?
Well, yeah, because even their card captor Sakura.
They didn't do that one.
Oh.
That was Nelvana.
Oh.
But their G.I. Joe show was complete garbage. Like, how is it that Ninja Turtles was the one thing that 4Kids was actually made darker than the anime?
Which one did they do?
The one I have.
The 2003?
Yeah. That was 4Kids.
No shit.
Yeah. The good one. That was 4Kids. The one that mimicked the Mirage comics.
Okay, now I'm a little terrified.
How do they get Ninja Turtles right, but then they take anime that has less adult themes than that Ninja Turtles and butcher the hell out of it? I don't understand. I don't get it. I do not get it.
Well, after we have walked away from that, I want to continue a little bit more on this cartoon to talk about what AI has said are the most... Well, actually, I'm going to ask you. You get a choice. Do you want to go with the most influential or the most popular cartoons of all time per AI?
Well,
They're actually two different lists.
so should we say that for another video?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Oh, okay. So
for next time.
we are done with this video.
Yes. What did you think of this?
The history of animation?
Yes.
I'm not sure. I don't know.
It was different.
Yes. It was
Oh,
interesting.
wow. It's basically the history of American animation, it felt like, more so than anything.
Well, obviously, that's
Because America.
America.
But, so, in the next video, we'll be either doing influential or popular based on his choice.
Cool, cool, cool.
And no matter what, I figure he's going to have some complaints about either list.
Ooh, I like complaining.
Really? You like complaining?
Alright, so as always, click like, subscribe, the bell notification, whatever else YouTube decides that you have to click on to support channels. You can support us on Patreon and Bluesky at Toku AAN Network, Facebook, Instagram, Discord at Kaiju no Kami. Website is creativitybydesignllc.com. And then you can buy cool Kaiju no Kami merchandise at creativitybydesignllc.com/shop. There's a link in the description below. And then there's a GoFundMe to help the channel grow. You can check that out. There should be a link for that also in the description below.
Oh, are you just padding time?
And what is your favorite era of cartoons that we talked about? Let us know, and until next time.